Hello and welcome to the virtual Kansas City SQL Server user group. Thanks everyone for joining. We are happy to welcome Paresh Motiwala to our user group today, discussing ChatGPT and a happy data pro. This is such a hot topic right now. I'm seeing more and more users, including myself, use it in ways to help become more productive at work. So it's a really great topic. Thank you so much, Paresh. Couple of housekeeping items. This is a live session, so we'll be monitoring questions as they come in and answer them accordingly. For the audience, this session is recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Once the recording is ready, I will place the link inside the meetup event and post them far and wide on various social media platforms. If you miss any of those, you can always check out our YouTube channel to see our latest and greatest listings. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, so one more time, everybody. How is everyone doing? Can you just have a nice thumbs up, a thumbs down? It's almost Wednesday, literally like 24 hours before the second hurricane of the season hits us, right? And yeah, that's not pretty, trust me. So yesterday I went and got myself a generator too. But fixing the generator is more expensive than the generator itself, so go figure. Okay, so why am I doing this? Because I felt that after the internet, if something really great happened to internet was the generative prompts, right? And that is something that we must always, always, always remember and exploit to use. And we'll go through the evolution and so on and so forth. But before that, a little bit about myself. So that's me. That's my 2-foot tsunami. That's my, and she is awesome. So my Twitter handle, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my company called Circles of Growth, where I teach public speaking, debating. I also mentor a lot of DBA into getting up and speaking. So that lanyard that you see is actually from Data Saturday in Dallas. Okay. And I run 3 user groups. So one of them is the Houston area SQL Server user group. That's where you can tag us. How did this go back? Okay, never mind. And then the Boston Business Intelligence user group, I haven't found anybody yet to take it over from me. And then the DBA virtual user group, which is run by me, Tayob, Julie, and Survi. So 3 of us were from Boston and so on. So please do, we meet second Wednesday at lunchtime East and then fourth Wednesday lunchtime West Coast. And Houston, we meet once a month at listening in. You might want to show up at Microsoft Office next Tuesday. Cool. So without that much of an ado, also 25th September is the Future Data Driven. If you haven't attended the Data Driven Summit, please do. It is the largest online conference for anything data. And wait, it's free. Okay. Do attend. I will be volunteering there and I will also be speaking there. I am going to be speaking about the Custo query language. I thought it was an eternally painful language to learn and did not see any significant advantage over SQL Server. But that's my granddaughter. She really helped me with this presentation a lot. And what we'll be talking, some of my other topics like network or parish, maintenance plans, stupid mistakes. 20 stupid mistakes is awesome. You love this. If you get a chance ever, there's a recording of it somewhere. And then why DBAs don't use tools. And this is one of those such tools. And then temp DB and so on and so forth. I don't want to go through the same thing that you can read easily, right? But this one I was selected for Boston, but I can't go. So computer and database forensics, okay? Basically how to use the tools available with forensic science to prevent data loss. For example, people mask their user tables and then they copy that into tempdb, right? And that comes as a blip, so nobody really realizes that it's a tempdb problem. But then they have plenty of time to look at the data from the tempdb, okay? So give me a shout if you like to check this over. I've done this in Denmark a few years ago. Cool. And SQL best practices is one of the things. Actually, I'm working on that project right now for the city of Houston. So I work as a DBA for city of Houston. And that's all of us here now. We stopped Googling for most of our problems. We are now chat GPTing or co-piloting. I'll give you the pros and cons of both of them as we go along. The word co-pilot is something that I added last night. Okay. So just bear with me. And I am now divorcing Google for most practical purposes. So then chat bots, right? So what are chat bots? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the definition of the GPTs. We'll talk about concepts that go with it. We'll also talk about the limitations, and please keep the limitations in mind.
Your sound just a little bit fuzzy every once in a while. I'm not sure what the cause is.
Is it because this is going behind the lapel, the microphone? Is it better now?
Yeah, much better, much better.
Okay, okay. So I'll take care of that. So the limitations we'll definitely want to listen to, right? And then the pros, the cons that we have for using that, the best practices for using generative technologies or AI for your work. And we will also talk about, wait, this is something you've been waiting for, the DBA connection or the database people connection, correct? And remember, there's a little bit of an overlap between the legalities and the cons. So just put up with me for a little bit during that time, correct? So what are chatbots, right? I mean, you have seen chatbots, correct? If you go to your health company like Blue Cross Blue Shield.com, he'll immediately have a pop-up on the right hand bottom corner. Hi, this is your bot. How can I help you? So that is pretty much preemptive and pre-trained, but it is like a B tree, the chatbots. Okay, so you start with one, it'll say yes or no, then it goes to no, then you say yes, it'll go here. So, but there's only limited amount of options that you have with the chatbots. You can actually write your own chatbot too, but who would do that now? Oh wait, you can actually, and you can ask ChatGPT or Copilot to actually give you a code for writing this whole thing, and it will actually do it for you. So under the chatbot, right? What are the applications like the messaging apps? If you look at it to a lot of extent, messaging apps are nothing but chatbots, especially the ones that come up with corporate websites. Okay, the healthcare is a classic application. Customer service, I have been more frustrated with that customer service part of it, but internal platforms for us also. In fact, in our city of Houston, we have chatbots where to route your, you have to go through the chatbot. So it's the internal platforms can actually exploit that. Politics is one of them. Entertainment, definitely toys. But what's missing here? Anyone wants to take a guess? Okay, so what's missing is that you have only limited answers that you get here. So for example, if you go to expedia.com and try to talk with that chatbot, you will be so frustrated because the only time you actually look for help is something that is not very evident. And chatbots actually frustrate you to that extent. Okay, so let's go on. So that's me. Okay, Google and now ChatGPT. Cool. So it's a chat generative pre-trained transformer, right? Can you just remember this tongue twister? Chat generative pre-trained transformer. Okay. Forget the word transformer, but basically, if you look at it as a generative and pre-trained, that is good enough for us. And what it does is that it is more like a chat rather than a search engine, as we know, right? So that is the major difference, is that there is so much information out there that if you look at something in Google, you will get a million hits, right? For example, today's debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, you'll see there will be millions of hits there. But if you have a paid version of ChatGPT, then you can possibly get something even latest. So I would say definitely it's highly interactive, and it will actually apologize to you. It will say thank you. If you give it a thank you, it will say welcome and so on. So it is trained to listen to English language questions. Okay. And there's one more thing about it that we'll talk about a little later. So here's the timeline. So 2020 to about GPT-3, right? That was the time when it was first introduced. Okay. Then what happened was, by the way, DALI was introduced in 2021. You can actually go ahead and bring up DALI here too. And I'll show you that. Let me see if I can do that here. DALI 3. And while it is coming up, DALI without ChatGPT, you can go there, but while it is coming up, okay. So let me show you this, for example, right? I tried to say, give me the classic image for Houston SQL Saturday, okay? And I gave it all the parameters. And every time I got an answer, I had a pretty bad spelling mistake in the word Houston, in the word SQL Saturday, and so on and so forth. Okay. So DALI was invested upon or invested in about almost 3.5 years ago, and it was really, really powerful. It could generate the emails for you, correct? And then, this time Microsoft chose not to sleep. Okay, like as in internet, if you are from my era, you will know that in 1997, when everybody was going internet, Microsoft thought, what's the point? Internet is going to crash one of these days anyway, so there's no point in investing the money. Okay, so but this time they went ahead and they invested almost 30 billion. Okay, and then 10 more later on in 2023. Okay, and that is what changed the complete face of generative pre-trained technologies. Okay, so the Bing and Edge as we know them, right? So here you go, and let me see if I can bring that up here. See, this is Copilot on the Bing, and if I bring up the Edge, you'll see that now. Gosh, I don't need this. You see this one here? You can just go ahead and open Copilot as an application. Okay. The pros and cons coming, guys. Please hold on. Don't go too far. Right? And then the official version came out last year. And since then, I have at least picked up about 10,000 lines of code from ChatGPT. Okay. So, I was never a developer, but last job in the law firm, I was forced to act like a developer and I did good. And I'm not ashamed to say that I use tools. And then what they're saying is, let's look at what's going to happen 10 years from today. And that's why the long arrow, right? And we'll have super intelligence, correct? So they say in about 10 years, a lot of this is something that even your children will be able to work upon. So what are the products that are available for us, right? So like GitHub Copilot is one of them. If you have not used it, I would strongly suggest looking at um, Warwick Rudd's presentation. He's from the Brisbane SQL Server User Group, and he spoke at the DBA Virtual User Group. Go ahead.
I think somebody left their mic on. You're good to go.
Okay, sorry. So he has got one full session on GitHub Copilot, in which you can actually ask your questions in English, and it will generate a SQL code for you. Just so you know, like what I do in Copilot, and then of course a good friend Meta AI and Google AI, right? So there's ChatGPT, and then there are 4 other technologies that we can capitalize on that. Okay, so let me tell you why Copilot is something that I love now. Where have you seen Meta AI? Anybody wants to put in a quick answer in the chat here? Okay, people don't want to respond. Okay, I was thinking we could. Okay, so Meta AI is in WhatsApp actually, and it's on Facebook. So when you are there in the Facebook Messenger or Meta in WhatsApp, you will see this Meta AI show up as a question, and I can show you that here. See this? This is Meta AI, by the way. Okay. If you are in WhatsApp, you can actually definitely go ahead and do that thing. Okay. Cool. Let's go to the next one. So what are the limitations here, right? Okay. The plausible sounding, sometimes seriously incorrect or nonsensical answers. Okay. And be prepared for that. It is very crucial that you do that. The reason why it is that it takes very generic meaning of the words that you have. It doesn't really know what the context behind your question is. So it just goes by most of the words and then it goes around billions of terabytes of data and then it tries to bring back the most relevant item as per what it thinks, right? So that is one of the things you might want to watch out. It can be very frustrating to begin with. But the good thing, it is subject to little bit of tweaks, okay? And so if you rephrase your queries, you will get better and better and better answers, okay? So just watch out for that. I think this is something you'll like. Sometimes the models are very verbose, okay? And that is something that irritates me a lot. But I'm sure that if I go for a paid version that is 4.0, right now it is like $10 a month. I don't know why I would spend that money because Copilot is better. And ChatGPT, the other issue with ChatGPT's limitations is that it is still, the free version is based on data sets that are about 2.5 to 3 years old. So if you ask something like, okay, how is the Tesla shares going to do over the next year? It will not possibly give you the best answer. We can try that actually. Let's see if that works. How do you foresee, I can spell Tesla talk for the next, say 2 years. See? Well, it gives you a, see, look at the verboseness of this, right? That is what I don't like about it, but let's go back and take to the next one. So it usually ends up not knowing your context or your thoughts behind your questions. So it will guess what you really asked for, right? So I'll give you a classic example. So somebody had asked, okay, so what is an execution plan? And what do you think is an execution plan? Christina, you want to chip in?
Gosh, no. With the execution plan with the ChatGPT, I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
No, but the execution plan from SQL Server perspective, right? That's what I have been talking all along, right? With ChatGPT,
Okay, I
not
see.
with you.
I thought
right?
you were saying from that. Got it. Yeah.
So it assumed that you really wanted to kill somebody. And it gave me an excessively verbose answer. And then it says, remember, killing somebody is not an
That's fantastic.
option. So it did not, whoops, I really meant to say SQL Server execution plans, right? So just make sure that you can actually ask the questions correctly, right? What to do with inappropriate requests? That is something it has become very good. So if you ask a question that, I want to do something A, B, C, D, whatever it is, right? And for example, I'll give you, we're talking about book banning in like Florida and so on. So I asked, okay, something about Bible, which it did not like. So it says, this is not an appropriate question that I can answer. So please look for your answers somewhere else. So it is pretty frank with the inappropriate request. Okay. Now the pros, correct? Okay. So it is basically natural language understanding. The versatility is immense. By the way, what I'm talking about ChatGPT now onwards also applies to Copilot. I haven't used Meta AI as much, but Copilot is my daily bread and butter, literally. Okay, and is so it does talk back to you, um, not in a rude way, but it's like almost you are having a conversation with it. So one of the things that I did was, where the heck is it here? Okay, I can say, just wanted to ask them right here. Do you have any jokes on custom query language? Sure, here's a light-hearted one for you, and so on. And then I said, okay, I wanted to do printing. I wanted to do this, for example. Um, in the custom query language, there's like one single button that you can use or a command that you can use to visualize your data. And see, look at the verboseness of all the responses that you get there, right? Are you with me so far? I hope I didn't bore you guys to death, but let's continue. So the scalability is immense. Right now, there's only way it can go is up. Okay. Okay. Then you can access this from anywhere, correct? You don't need to have any application on your phone. You can actually install. If you install it on your phone, then it is like, I think the free thing lasts for about 30 days. After that, it charges you $9.99 per month, which I find it extremely repulsive that why I have to pay them for that, right? But the latest version is free only for a month. So if you are there to give a proof of concept or something like that, Christina, did you by any chance go to the Louisiana, the Baton Rouge? I think Erin was there, right, Erin? There
Yeah,
was
I didn't.
one gentleman who has written a backend to ChatGPT where you can ask ChatGPT to go to your SQL server and restore a database for you.
Oh,
I
nice.
can't
Very
remember.
nice.
Yeah, I can't remember. And I know it should be coming pretty soon. I think Redgate is also working on that now. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing, few things. Like the accuracy is a pro and it's also a con, right? Because it's not always very accurate. Okay. Then bias is there. Uh, it tends to go based more on your words and it will come up with what it thinks is a great answer for you. And then remember, the only answer it will give you is the contextual answer. So if you're looking for like, okay, how to have a good life, then you might want to rephrase that question with a little bit of thing here and there, right? And then ethical concerns, we should also talk about that, correct? So here's the thing that we encountered in the previous job, okay? So one of our guys, lawyers, he actually fed to ChatGPT a complete information about the case, including the name of the customer, the defending party, and so on, right? ChatGPT came up with some awesome brief that had case studies and everything mentioned right down to the T. Okay. And as it turned out, our company lost about $78 million for the customer because the case study that it cited was a wrong one. Okay, and the judge was so pissed that she says, you know, where the hell did you get this thing? Are you trying to mislead the court and so on and so forth? It was not pretty. So that is why our president sent out an email that now onwards, thou shall not use Chat GPT, at least for legal thing, although we were using it for DBA related stuff, right? So the other thing is that when you ask, say, for example, I want you to give me an abstract for Christina Mishra's book on so and so, right? And it will go to Amazon, it will go to this site, that site, and thousands of other websites and pick up the best possible review for Christina's book. But I cannot then claim it on a paper saying that this is my work, because ChatGPT does not tell you where the hell it got the information from, whereas Copilot does. Okay, so just watch out for that. The ethical concerns, that's good for you too, because if your reviews are out there on internet and somebody takes your reviews and presents them as their own reviews, then you can beat them up with a lawsuit. Okay, and this is also a con, by the way. So okay, and so ethical and the social implications, let's talk about that. Okay, so biases and fairness, we already spoke about a little bit of bias, but fairness means it thinks this is the bestness. It'll try to give you the most neutral answer. It's not leaning to anything, but yes, you can do that. Privacy, this is one biggest thing that you might really want to think about, because from what I understand, and please correct me if you think I'm wrong, and I'd most gladly and humbly accept that, but ChatGPT actually stores the information that you give in its server somewhere. Okay, but Copilot doesn't, and that is what I think. Who told me? I think on Saturday, I think it's Ginger or um, Amy, right? So one of the two told me that it doesn't do this any longer. Oh yeah, it was Bob Board. I think Bob Board in his session he said that Copilot doesn't store your personal information there at all. So the questions that you ask, only the generic stuff is taken and put into its knowledge base, so to speak. So, and there can be misinformation that comes out of it too, right? And transparency, if you go ahead and say what I'm writing today is based on ABC, then it is fair. So remember, it is your obligation to make sure that you give the credit where it is due. Okay, cool. Now, what are the cons? Sometimes it doesn't understand context. Although you gave it the context, you thought you gave it the context, but it doesn't. Okay, it has gone a long way over the past several months, I would say now, right? But sometimes it can give you irrelevant answers. Okay, and for example, I was looking for an issue with an SSRS reporting servers configuration. Talking about. So just
I think
watch
we
out
lost
against
you for a
that.
second.
Okay. So the cons, that's one of the cons. Is my internet gone?
Said I think we lost you for just about 10 seconds. It went silent.
Is it better now? Yeah, I think there was a blip in the internet a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
So remember,
It's
okay. I hope it's better now. Okay. So overconfidence. The SSRS report example that I gave you, the reporting services configuration example that I gave you, okay, it did not even bother to verify. Whereas when I was working on Copilot, for example, I was actually able to go ahead and have a one-on-one chat with it. Come on. And I could ask a question. It gave me a script. I tried to use that script. That script did not work. So he says, okay, you know what? I think I may have misunderstood you. So can you possibly try to do this, right? So let me see one thing. I was trying to show you this is based on DALI as well. Can you generate an image for www.sqlsaturday.com? Oh, while it is working, let's go ahead and now, would you claim this image as your own? Possibly not, right? Okay. So when you're using this, remember, let me go back to here it is. 4 images. I don't know what happened. So again, this is something that possibly I will never understand, but let's go. So that overconfidence is there and it thinks that it is on the right track and giving you the right answers, but it is very much up to you to verify those answers. Got it? Okay. Remember, exercise caution and independently verify the information that it provided. Okay, cool. So, sorry. Now, if you don't like an answer, or you think it is a wrong answer after whatever you have done by way of test, then you can actually let ChatGPT or Copilot know that this is not going to be working because what you said here is not right. Please work with something else. Give me another example or try one more iteration of the same script, right? And it will keep on generating till you are happy. Like one thing, there is a command called dot show a query plan in Custo query language. Now, it did not ask me the exact context where I wanted to use it. Apparently, whatever ChatGPT and Copilot gave me never worked. What was given in the Microsoft documentation did not work. Then on Saturday, I found out that the show query plan works only in a specific cases if you're using it in Azure Plan Explorer or something like that. I forgot now, but so it did not work, but it did not know that this is not true. Okay. Uh, the real world understanding is not there. It is just going by what is bits and bytes out there, and it will try to make sense of what has been done in the past. So it really doesn't know what the heck you're talking about and what is really the main solution behind it, but it does cut down a lot of search results that you may otherwise get through Google. On to the next one, right? So the best practices. So, oh, wait, sorry. Privacy and data concern that I told you, right? Remember, some of this data is stored, right, for improvement processes. So if you have a server name or field name or certain data that is PHI, PII, PCI, I can tell you. Okay, so make sure that if you are going to do that, just give the pattern, do not give your exact data. Okay. For example, I wanted to write a function in Excel because I'm not great with it. And I asked this is the layout of the spreadsheet, and this is the data, which I had to rewrite the entire data. And then it came up with a correct solution for me to write that function. Okay. Now let's go to the best practices. So like everything, right, there has to be best practice that goes with it, right? And it's you can almost call ChatGPT or Copilot like a DBA. They look for very clear instructions. Okay, so don't give it hazy questions or something that you really are not sure yourself what the hell to talk about, right? So here you go. Then, if there is a possibility, give it some reference. Okay. Um, Instead of one big question, follow or break down your questions into smaller chunks using delimiters. Okay, so hey, I have a SQL server. Okay, comma. In that, I want to find the jobs where emailing is not enabled. Right. So you see that comma and the word SQL to begin with. That will give you a much easier and better response and accurate responses too. So what I did was I used example. For example, I want to set up a mail. This is what it should look like. And it did come back absolutely, possibly taking the whole thing from books online, right? But it was able to give me exactly what I wanted. And I was able to use it without absolutely anything. So the question is, are we getting dumber when we are using these kind of tools? I don't think so. I personally believe that we should be using these tools complement we know and what we do rather than just dumbing it out totally, right? So there you go. For if anybody, any one of you who has a child in around the age group where they're going to apply for the college, if you ask them to write a personal statement, tell them, okay, I need a personal essay for myself based on my life, okay, and it should be 2,000 characters long. And believe me or not, it will be maybe 1996 or 1999 characters long input as to what you want. So it's pretty good if you give a desired input about as to how much you want. If you have a reference text, for example. So, for example, I asked, okay, can you talk about Paresh Motiwala's public speaking classes? I don't know Paresh Motiwala. He's not a very famous person. Okay, I think you can find some information about him on circlesofgrowth.com. And then it basically went and scraped the web page, and it gave the information about me based on that. So if you give it a proper reference, then that is also a great thing to do, right? Now, this is where ChatGPT can totally get screwed if you ask for citations. Because remember, um, without citations, if you are quoting anything, there is a specific way in which you are supposed to put your citations. Citations meaning where is the reference coming from? And there are different types of citations that are there. If you go to citationmonkey.com, for example, it will tell you that if you want to say give Paresh Motiwala the credit for what you learned today, then you can just go to that website, tell it this is what I'm looking for, this is the source, this is the name of the author, right? And it will give you exactly how you are supposed to do that. But ChatGPT is not great with that. I haven't tried that in Copilot, but just remember. Now, instead of one big question, as I said, remember not only breaking it with questions, but uh, not only breaking it with punctuation marks, split complex tasks into easy, smaller tasks, right? As you do it in SSIS or possibly a SQL Server job where you have one check if it is a always on primary, if it is not, exit. If it is, then do A, B, C, D, whatever it is, right? So split the complex task as much as possible, and it will actually show you that it is thinking. Now, when it is thinking, don't try to interrupt, okay? Because we usually respond because we want to respond, not because we want to listen. So let it finish the thinking process and it'll come back with the next best answer for you. Now, using of external tools like DALI is now currently considered as an external tool. But this is one of the things, if we can get an industry where they can actually write external tools that can use generative pre-trained transformers, then we can make our job significantly easier. Like I was talking about GitHub Copilot, for example. Uh, and then whatever recommendations that it gives you, make sure that you check it absolutely thoroughly. Okay. Do not put it in production without first testing it. Cool. Now, DBA connection, right? That's all what we are really waiting for, of the pros and cons and all the good things that go with it. Okay. I actually asked it for this and it gave me this picture, so you know. Okay. So in the bibliography, right? Okay, so I have to show you that first, but if you want, you can take care of these. Brent Ozer has an awesome article, Scary DBA, that is Grant Ritchie, my friend from Boston. He is also, and that he's now moved to Oklahoma. But yes, go ahead and start using these. You should learn a lot and it will make your life much easier. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to show you about the, this did not work, right, for us? Okay. So any database related questions that you would like to ask now? Let's do this actually. It may not be such a bad idea, right? Okay. Where is it? Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask here. Here I was talking to you about dot commands. Some of these dot commands, I'm not sure why they don't work. I could never really figure that out. But just so you know, you can then have an interactive answer. For example, here, it gave me this. I wanted something. Okay, so the syntax error you are encountering, I gave it the feedback immediately, right? There might be a mistake in the way materialized view is being defined, correct? And try applying this to your query, which I did, and then it worked eventually, right? So, oh, wait, there's an error. This is okay, now try this. And it's saying, okay, if this didn't work, try the chat troubleshooting tips and so on, right? I did not give it the feedback over here, but it did eventually work. Now, for a lot of us who have possibly lost a job or something like that, and you want to do an interview for yourself, you can actually go ahead and say, hi, I am Christina, and I am looking for a KQL developer job. Can you interview me?
Nice. I like that.
There you go. Okay.
Very
So
nice.
this
I
is
like
one,
that.
right? Yeah, so you'll really like and try to exploit it as much as possible, right? So one more, please. So it doesn't know that I'm Paresh, although I'm signed in as Paresh, right? But it still answers to Christina, correct? Data transformation, aggregation, so whatever is there, and these are real life questions that are listed on some of the websites, possibly about Gusto or wherever, and then it is actually able to reach out all those places in time and get you as if it get the answers back to you as if it understands you're asking. Okay. For example, I just forgot PowerShell developer interview. Here you go. See, interview me, and it gives some classic questions that have been asked. For example, you can actually ask a question here. Say, do you have some sample questions that Amazon asks during job interviews? They are usually very unusual questions. So one of the questions, for example, they ask you is, what is the purpose of a brake in the car, for example, right? And you say, oh yeah, so you can apply brake and you can stop in time. But the answer they are looking for is you have brakes so that you can go fast. And that is the kind of thing they ask you during the interviews. But yes, so this is exactly the types of questions they ask you, and you see it's still thinking. So you should not interrupt it. I can say stop generating the answers here. Does that make sense? Cool. So this is the link that we have as a data pro. You can ask it Power BI related questions. You can ask it questions related to T-SQL, windowing functions, whatever you have in mind. I don't want to be totally forgetful of this, but let's think about what is circles of growth.com, for example. That's my website, by the way. See, there you go. But now, because we have a fairly precise question, it is able to go to that website and figure out, see where it is. It still shows my Boston address, right? Which is not fair, but there you go. Because this is a 3-year-old data. Okay, we moved from Boston 2.5 years ago. But I think this is pretty much it, guys. If you like, I can share my information again, but this is what we spoke about, the chatbot, how they slowly evolved into ChatGPT, the pros, the cons, what is the definition, some of the concepts, the best practices, and the legalities that are involved in it. And of course, how as DBAs, we can make the most out of it. Correct? And finally, I'd like to have my contact information again. Here you go in LinkedIn. Please, if you are going to connect with me, do let me know where you met me. Okay, otherwise I will not accept. On Facebook, I'm pretty good. I think there should be Instagram here too somewhere, but I forgot. But yeah, I'm always available. Feel free to reach out to me. I think I can give it back to Christina. Christina, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paresh. That was great. Have you had a chance to use Google's Gemini yet?
No, I mean,
Just another one that's out there.
yeah, that's exactly like, I married to one woman all my life, right? 37 years now. So like this one is two women already, like Copilot and ChatGPT. Now, if I have a third one, then I have serious problems. So,
Yep, yep.
but
It's a
yeah,
funny thing.
it may not be such a bad idea to actually go verify what Copilot told you in the other place, right? Thank you
Yeah.
guys. You guys were awesome. I hope you can actually, oh, there you go. Copilot, this is the name you want to remember, okay? His
Probably
recording
like
is there
this.
in the DBUVUG, okay?
You'll probably like this, Fresh. My husband, when it started, he's a professor, and when everything exploded with ChatGPT and Copilot, he found like he was getting same answers on homework from students. They were all putting it in ChatGPT for all their homework, but when it came time for the test, they didn't know how to do the problems, and often it was like
Yes,
very similar to what was in homework. So it was a real eye opener for him that, oh, wow, we're going to have to rethink how we're doing this because they're just, plopping it in, getting straight answers, and then they're not really learning the information. So
that
it's
is
pretty
so
interesting.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to share anything by way of their knowledge?
Do you think you had mentioned earlier in your presentation about, yeah, is it dumbing us down or not? And I would agree with you that it's not, but I worry a little bit about um, like the ability people will over rely on it versus learning how to do the actual thing. I
Yeah.
know when we had another speaker on, he was talking about best practices, and he pulled up something that showed a best practice that really wasn't. It just became so common because ChatGPT was regenerating it and more people were putting it in their blogs. So all of a sudden, this awful way to do something was becoming a top
Correct.
hit.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that. Yes, absolutely. Actually, the abstract that I gave for Dallas SQL Saturday
Mm.
was something that I had ChatGPT generate for me.
Yeah, so it
And
actually
I'm like,
shows the, go ahead.
no, what I'm saying is that, yes, you look at the thing, but you just can't be so dumb that you just copy and paste the whole damn thing, right? And you have to go ahead and customize it a little bit, right? So to make sure that it has that personal touch. It says this is from Paresh and not from ChatGPT. And that is where I think that the dubbing kind of inadvertent part of any technological evolution, so to speak. For example, hear me out, okay? Before the calculators came, I could do such complex calculations in my mind. Remember, so in 1984, actually in 1981 was the first time I calculator in my hand. But in 1984, when I was in USA for some training, and I went to a convenience store, and so this guy was totaling, it was like $19.16 or something like that. And even while he was totaling, I told him it is $19.16. This guy looks up at me and says, "Are you an Indian?" I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, only Indians do this side of calculations along the way." So I'm like, "Okay." So then the second part of it, computers, right? We used to love writing our own letters and so on. And then computers came along and we depend so heavily on the spell check, but we hardly ever do proper grammar check, right? So along with all technologies, you have pros and cons, right? So if you start using any technology as a crutch, then you will stay handicapped, right? So that's all I think would be my parting words for all of you. Anybody wants to share any of their personal experiences or anything like that? This is a good time. Or we
I
can
did have one
give you,
experience.
please,
Yeah, I had an
go ahead.
experience like that where I was trying to write some code and I just kept asking ChatGPT or one of the AI engines, no, that's not right. And I ask it again and it would give me a different answer. And I tried, no, that's not right. I kept asking, I was getting frustrated. And then finally I thought, probably after 30 minutes, if I just think about this myself, I can probably figure it out. I had just like given up thinking, and it was like building some CSS or something for a web page. And it wasn't getting it right. But I realized,
Oh,
before AI, I would have just taken 10 minutes and figured it out myself. Now I'm just getting a little bit lazy. I know, and I'm just asking the AI, hey, can you do this for me so I don't have to think?
oh yeah, that makes sense. Totally
Yeah.
understandable. Cool. So I'll call it a night, guys. Feel free to, you want to stop the recording, Christina, by any chance?
Again, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
coming today.
Yep.
Great job.
Sure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
We really
Yes,
appreciate it.
absolutely.